Well, we're following that development very closely. It's perhaps a debate of House rules and Senate orders, and we haven't seen the end of it. Yesterday, the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Relations officially closed the sexual harassment petition filed by Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan against Senate President Godswill Akpabio. And this follows an intense investigative hearing where the petitioner, Asa Maria, refused to testify, alleging bias by the committee. Tijesu Adeoye has more.
A disgrace to the Senate. You are an insult to womanhood.
It was a tense and fiery session as the Senate's Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions convened to deliberate on a petition alleging sexual harassment against the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio. The petition, filed on behalf of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, had already faced legal and procedural hurdles before this sitting. The committee, chaired by Senator Neda Imasuen, had earlier dismissed a similar petition by Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, ruling it invalid because it was personally signed by her, which is contrary to Senate rules. The latest petition submitted by a constituent was set for hearing, but the proceedings took an unexpected turn.
If you look at my petition, I stated it there that she's my #1 principal witness who will come and testify, oral testification and documentary evidence. Since she's not allowed to be here, I can't proceed further.
The step you have taken now makes it impossible for us to proceed. You see, in any hearing, there is a balance. The man that you accuse and the man that is accused. Just like you want to state your case, we also want the man who is being accused to state his case.
Legal counsel to Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan, Abiola Akinyode, further fueled the controversy, demanding that the committee chairman, Senator Neda Imasuen, recuse himself.
We can give evidence. Premium Times, March 5th, Arise, it was also recorded. We have several documentary evidence to show that at a point in time, the chair had said, dead or an arrival, she has no case to answer and other things.
Despite several attempts by the committee to persuade Asa Maria to testify or withdraw the case, he remained defiant. This led to chaotic scenes with senators and observers raising their voices in heated arguments.
Say that. You don't have the right to say that.
We are citizens of Nigeria. You are in violation of the constitutional provisions.
Tensions reached a peak when the Senate's deputy whip, who stood as a witness for the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, clashed with the former Minister of Education, Obi Ezekwesili. Ezekwesili requested to be placed under oath before speaking, despite not being a party to the case, a move that further escalated a heated verbal exchange.
I will not take it to insult. That is why you can never be here. The petitioner said he would not speak to his petition because the Senate is biased, or I'm biased, or the committee is biased. 2, the respondent has just told us, and the papers are before you, that this case is before a competent court of law. Therefore, this committee will allow a court of law that will not be biased.
With the petition effectively closed and no testimony given, the fate of the petition now lies with the judiciary, but conversations around the issue raised will continue to dominate talking points for a long time. Tijesu Adeoye, TVC News, Abuja.
Let's bring in policy analyst Saheed Ajadi for more on this development. Mr. Ajadi, thanks for joining us on the program this evening. I'd like us to begin with the issue of procedural concerns. The Senate committee dismissed the petition on the grounds that the matter is already in court. But the petitioner argues that they were invited despite this fact You don't think they suggest some form of inconsistencies or even bad faith in how the Senate handled this petition?
Good evening, Nigeria. Thank you for having me, TVC. For me, personally, I feel that there's an aberration in the issue. Firstly, to start with, the Senate should not have listened to the petition because it's already subjudiced. The court of law is involved in this. You should have waited for the decision of the court of law before inviting the petitioner. However, initially the Senate had said that the petition was wrong because the senator wrote signed by herself. And now she sent someone to represent her. What I saw there is that there's no decorum from the petitioner. One thing is clear. You cannot disrespect the Senate of the Federal Republic. It's a constituted authority. And you cannot insult the person of the committee, chairman, and the members. Initially, you said you don't believe in that committee. That is totally wrong. Why are you sending your petition to them if you don't believe in the committee? And why are the people that came with you lacking decorum and disrespect for the Senate? You cannot tell people to shut up in the Senate. You are in the chambers. I expect that the madam should know better, having served Nigeria as a minister, and bring back her females champion. There has to be respect, and there has to be decorum. We have to have manners. If elders don't have manners, what is going to happen to the followers? Leadership is supposed to be accountable. Followership is supposed to be accountable. You are there as
respect and decorum turn out to be on both sides. You know, even if the former minister had asked someone to shut up, the way Amana, the senator, also addressed the matter appears to be overboard.
That warranted that. You told the person to shut up. You know, push and pull. If you don't pull, there will be no push. So it is the push that's warranted the pull. Even if you feel that the person that is representing the speaker, the Senate president, might be biased, then you don't trust the whole committee. Why?
I hear you, in the first place? And I understand your point, Mr. Ajadi, but it's also expected that someone of such highly exalted office will also know exactly how to conduct himself under pressure, even when provoked. But I'd like us to look at the meat of the matter. We'll get back to that fracas in a moment, Mr. Ajadi. The petitioner's legal team did claim that the committee chairman had previously called the petition dead on arrival. You don't think this raised some legitimate concerns about bias?
That's why I said that earlier on you had negated the petition before it's even started. It means that there's a probable bias. For me, I feel both sides are wrong. I was going to get to that. The senator that was representing the Senate president should have known better in order to be able to be calm. You can't talk to a female like that. And for instance, she's not even your mate. You are now coming back to say you have accepted that you were wrong. In the first place, even if they abuse you, you are supposed to respect yourself. You are representing a constituent. You are supposed to come and compose yourself under pressure. There's going to be anarchy, there's going to be insults and all of that. But you that you are representing the people, you are supposed to take, the insult is not going to affect your person. Why don't you maintain decorum and be peaceful? Because as it is now, the court of law has not spoken. And the committee are now insisting that they have to wait for the court of law to speak. Why did you invite them? So both parties are totally wrong for me.
So the former education minister has now called for an independent panel to investigate. Do you support that demand? Or what alternative mechanism do you think can ensure justice in this regard?
Both parties have apologized to one another. We shouldn't waste the Nigerian people's time on that. Both parties have apologized. The senator has apologized to her because she also knew that she erred. So what we should do now is focus on governance, and the House or the Senate should focus on doing proper things to elevate Nigerians. That's what I'm concerned about. Petition. When are we going to move forward? We have not addressed the petition on hand. It's in the court of law. So whoever is going to talk about it now you are subjudiced. Let the law speak. When the law speaks, you go and appeal. If you knew you are not going to be calm, why did you go there? Are you going on a personal vendetta? And the senator himself should have left her to her whims and caprices and move on to the issue. The Senate should deal with issues now. Let us not be derailed about Miagra things and things that are not important to the Nigerian people. They're all there to represent constituents, and they're all there to represent Nigerians. Nigerians need results from them. As it is, the Natasha case has lingered for too long, and we need to move forward with issues of Nigeria. That's my own take on this issue. So going for another issue on the side that does not matter to us, because she's not part of the respondent. She's not supposed to be speaking. The person that is supposed to speak is the one that is sworn on oath, who petitioned. So why don't you allow the person to speak? You did not. So for me, I think the committee has made their judgment by saying that they are not ready to take the petition anymore. Let the law speak. When the law decides, then we can know what next to do. However, the committee members and the Senate should take the heed and go back to their responsibilities to us and deal with issues of Nigeria. Because the Natasha case is lingering for too long, and there are pressing issues that concern Nigerians that need to be addressed. That's my own take on the issue.
She's been suspended for 6 months. She hasn't been quiet. She's been speaking with international media. This topic is probably going to be with us for as long as she's suspended.
You are taking us to Nigeria. You are making so much noise, and you have gone to court. We cannot be living for Natasha, Senator Natasha. Let Nigeria move forward.
Mr. Jadi, there is the issue of moral burden here for both the accused and the institution of the Nigerian Senate. Some have said, shouldn't allegations against the Senate president be investigated by an independent body rather than a Senate committee where members may owe him some loyalty? This petition we're talking about alleges sexual harassment. There's the issue of abuse of office and obstruction of legislative duties. Given the gravity of these claims, they're saying, why hasn't there been a more transparent and independent investigation? But I'd like us to speak to some of the other issues raised by the former Minister of Education, Oby Ezekwesili, who has now accused the Senate of prioritizing its internal rules over the Nigerian Constitution. Is there a sense to which you believe the Senate acted within constitutional bounds, or is this a case of procedural obstruction?
I believe it's a procedural obstruction. We have monitored the issue of Natasha from get-go. We have seen the relationship between senators. When the going was good, everything was okay. I'm surprised that I don't want to subjugate this issue because it's in court. But since you're asking me direct questions, I have to answer you. When the person in question was the committee chairman before she was removed to another committee, there was no rancor and there was no sexual harassment. Now they moved you from one particular committee chair to another, and you needed to move your seat and all of that. All these issues started. For me, I think that there are so many underground notes that we need to consider in this issue. You have said I've harassed you sexually. You were in Switzerland with the Senate president when you were nominated for a conference. You were not there with your husband. You were there with the president. And you stayed in the same hotel for about a week. You did not complain of harassment at that time, but you are now complaining of harassment about a couple of months after. For me, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm a psychologist. I have managerial psychology. The reality is that what prompted this accusation? So if you were removed from a chairmanship to another chairmanship, the same thing that we are talking about, this senator that did not compose himself, is the same thing we'll talk about Natasha. You need to compose yourself. You are not going to bring down Nigerian Senate because of yourself. We have to stop thinking about self. We have to think of Nigeria. You are there because of Nigeria and the people of Nigeria. So the concern should be, are you dealing with the issues that concern your constituent? You are dealing with personality. You went abroad to go and trash the Senate. Even when we are told that you are in court, you are now going against the court of law. You were the one that went to court. Why don't you allow the courts to make a judgment? So we are not following procedures here. And Nigerians need to be taught proper decorum. We have younger ones watching these things, all that we are playing out now. What do you have to show for the younger generation? We have to be careful because this is precedent that is putting out clearly to Nigerians.
You made an allusion to bringing down the Nigerian Senate. I'm concerned about the equal responsibility between the distinguished senator you've mentioned and the institution of the Nigerian Senate. The former Minister of Education yesterday was quoted to have said this issue has terribly reduced the integrity of the Senate and those that sit in it. The Senate's handling of Natasha's case has severely damaged the institution's integrity, end quote. Do you think there's a way they could have handled this case better that would have preserved the perception of the Senate, perhaps better than what we have seen?
That's why I said earlier that the way both parties are handling the Senate shows that you are not respecting the people of Nigeria. You are a representative of some people. And if you're a representative of a constituent, you need to show a good example to that constituent. Now, Akpabio's case as the Senate president, he also erred by having confrontation with the senator publicly on the House of the National Assembly. We hold the Senate president a lot of respect. That's the number 3 person in Nigeria. You are not going to reduce that office because of one senator. You have to hold sway for Nigeria. And so if you yourself, you are not standing tall because your personality is being bashed, it's totally wrong. Because after this case is resolved, you are still the Senate president for Nigeria. And so we are looking at you at a high position and a pedestal. But you are not positioning yourself with the seat. Because when you become a Senate president, you are a Senate president for 200 people, so to speak. So if one person is calling you out, you have to maintain decorum for that position. And he himself has erred. From the past that we have seen, he has also erred. So that's why I'm saying that it is better for us to wait for the judiciary to speak on this matter. However, it does not stop proceedings in the House, in the chambers. Let Nigeria move forward. If she's suspended, take the 6 months in good faith. You are in court. Let the judiciary decide. You cannot bring down Nigeria because of yourself. It's just one senator out of 109 people. So Nigeria should move forward because critically we need to move forward for issues to be addressed and resolved.
So this case,
Senator,
Mr. Ajadi, this case has drawn comparisons to past sexual harassment scandals in Nigerian politics, and a few names come to mind. But do you think Nigeria has a systemic problem with accountability when powerful figures are accused of misconduct?
Thank you very much for that question. For me, I was going to be part of the Senate about almost 20 years ago. These are things that I saw when previous governments were there. You see, when you do not discipline people when they act, it continues to recur because you believe that you can get away with so many things. However, when you accuse someone of an issue, you have to have witnesses and you have to prove it. She has not proven what she's accusing the Senate president for. So we cannot nail the Senate president, but we can complain that the matter is not well handled by both individuals. If I am the Senate president, I will excuse myself if the case is before the judiciary and is before the panel in the Senate. You have to give people, but however, before we do that, we have to remember that there are also people in the opposition in the Senate. So it's not a bias issue. It's about the facts of the situation, because the people in the opposition can oppose the Senate president. Although the ruling party has majority, it does not mean that you cannot have a voice to speak. You must be able to speak for Nigerians to hear you. That is what is needed now.
All right.
So if you cannot speak now, don't speak at all anymore.
Good place to live it, Mr. Ajadi. You know, if the Senate can dismiss serious allegations on procedural grounds without a substantive hearing, the big question is, what message does that send to ordinary Nigerians seeking justice against powerful figures? Women in politics, for instance, often face harassment and intimidation, and there are concerns about whether or not this case would discourage more women from entering politics, given how it's being handled. But it's a good place to live in, Mr. Ajadi. We're going to, I believe we'll find time to continue this conversation. But we have to go now.
There are several women in the Senate, but for time, we can leave it like that.
We have to go
now.
now.
Your person should not bring the gender down. There are other women in the Senate that are standing tall.
Good place to leave it. Thank you so much for your contribution. We'll continue this conversation subsequently. You can also share your thoughts with us online using X. Remember to use the hashtag Beyond 100 Days and at tag at Nifemi Oguntoye. See you again tomorrow. You can watch it again by midnight and 6 a.m. tomorrow.